Hello and welcome to another week talking politics. I'm Terry Kumi and this is Political Paradigm. Today we stay with the PDP. Last week I spoke with BOT chairman of one of the factions of the party loyal to the FCT minister, Senator Mao Ohoabonwa. Today I speak with the chairman of the party who is a product of the National Convention which held in Oyo State in November. We'll talk about the circumstances surrounding his election as chairman and the crisis within the People's Democratic Party. Welcome to Political Paradigm.
Thank you, my brother Terry. It's a pleasure.
You seem too relaxed. How are you doing, Chairman?
The grace of God.
You're doing well.
And His enemies.
You know, a lot of people wonder why you decided to take up this kind of challenge. You know, at a time like this, when the PDP is struggling and everybody's trying to remove themselves from the equation, you presented yourself to be chairman of the People's Democratic Party. Can I start by asking you why?
Since I think sometime in 2012, I have been around the center of decision making at the highest level in PDP, because I have been a member of the Board of Trustees. And when we left office also in 2015, I assumed the mantle of leadership of all former ministers. And so by virtue of that position, I also became a member of the National Caucus of the party. So most of the things that were happening or that had happened around me. In other words, I am a living witness to most of the mistakes that had been made. I have been a living witness to most of the achievements that had been made. So when we now got to a situation where the problems were getting to a high crescendo and party leaders are now beginning to say, okay, whatever the situation is, we need to get ourselves out of this quagmire. We need to get ourselves out of the box. And so if we need to do this honestly and sensibly, then we need to get a person who, even though he's been around, who has not taken part, has not taken sides in the different groupings that were at daggers drawn with each other. And they now, Tom fell on me. People felt, okay, the person that can do this, who had been around and who is aware of everything and who has not been a member of any of the groupings that are daggers drawn, is Turaki. And because I love my party, because I believe it's important that PDP as the major opposition party in Nigeria survives and comes out stronger. So I accepted the challenge to take up the mantle of leadership of the party at this very critical, and I tell you, a very difficult time also.
And you have no regrets so far?
I don't have any regret.
Okay, so let's go to the genesis of your emergence, and I'll start with the convention. That convention held despite 2 court orders. Do you think the party acted right by going ahead with that convention?
Now, first we start with Justice Omotosho's order. What did Justice Omotosho say? Justice Omotosho said that INEC do not monitor the convention until certain conditions precedent were followed. And I believe that all condition precedent had been followed. But there are certain elements against whom we are now taking professional actions that had suppressed evidence from the court. Now, be that as it may, some other party members now sued INEC, principally, and us, before Oyo State High Court, as per Justice Akintola. And Justice Akintola's, the evidence that was adduced before him also, was that PDP had fulfilled all righteousness as far as preparation for the convention was concerned. And both parties there, including INEC, had conceded to the fact that, yes, all righteousness had been fulfilled. So if all righteousness had been fulfilled, it means that the condition had been stated in Justice Omotosho's case had been satisfied. Because we were not supposed to go back before him to say, my Lord, we are now back to tell you that fulfill all righteousness. It was left for INEC to determine. And having now conceded in the case before the State High Court that indeed PDP had fulfilled all righteousness, there was no need for anybody to go back to anybody to now say this thing. Beyond this, where you have two conflicting orders, I will tell you as a lawyer, one court order directing you to do something, another one asking you not to do something. You are now at a crossroad. You will not be in contempt of order of court by refusing to do what the other order said you should do, or by doing what the other court order said you should not do. This is something that is commonsensical. So, as far as I'm concerned, we fulfill our righteousness. We did what we were supposed to do. We went for convention, supported by custom, supported by convention, and supported by an order of a court of competent jurisdiction. So our convention was well done.
How about the order, the court order emanating from the suits filed by Lamido?
We've appealed against that order. We've appealed against that judgment. And we filed an application for stay. And the implication, a lawyer will tell you, is where you appeal against a judgment, and then you file an application for stay. Until that application is heard and determined one way or another, then you have a sort of temporary stay. That judgment is temporarily stayed pending the determination of that order. So it can be, pending the hearing of that application. It may go one way or another, but before that application for stay is heard, that order is temporarily stayed. So as far as you are concerned, Sule's judgment is temporarily stayed now until that application is heard and taken.
Chairman, I want you to speak a little broader on the legitimacy of your election, because the controversies around that convention were so much that we as media personalities got a little carried away. And when I had a conversation with Senator Mao Habunwa, who is the BOT chairman of that faction, he had said that the initial proposal from the caretaker, from the disciplinary committee of the reconciliation committee at the time, was that the state congresses, local government congresses that had not been concluded should be concluded before the convention, such that there will be no disenfranchisement of delegates who should be at that convention. So with that in mind, speak to concerns about the legitimacy of your election.
Okay, first I will start by saying that there is no faction in PDP. There is a group of individuals, group of friends, who are deluding themselves into believing that they are a faction, but there's no faction, but factually and legally. Now, we attended a INEC meeting. It was the former National Organizing Secretary of the party, Umar Bature, who brought a memo for concluding congresses in some states, about 14. Now, NEC sat and gave approval that these congresses should proceed. Now, congresses were held. Congress were held in Plateau State. State Congress was held in Niger. I had the privilege of being the chairperson of that Congress. Congresses were held in Oyo. They were held in Lagos. They were held in Ekiti. They were held in Cross Rivers. They were held in Kebbi. They were held in which other place? But there were 3. Congress was not held in Anambra. Congress was not held in Ebonyi. Congress was not held in Southeast Zone. Why were congresses not held in these 3 places? Because there was an order of the Federal High Court in Enugu. And as a law-abiding party, PDP felt, okay, let us now await the determination of that suit that was filed at Enugu to determine whether or not congresses will now proceed in those 3 places or not. But nobody can tell you that Congress are not taking place in other places. Congress are taking place. That is number 1. Number 2, if for whatever reason, anybody who feels, yes, I'm aggrieved, whether you have a legitimate right to be aggrieved or not, and then you go to court, and then you're asking for a relief, and a relief is given against you, and you came to sit in a meeting duly convened of the party, and then you participated in the decision that came out of that meeting, and then after all this, you now go behind to go and say, I'm aggrieved, I'm challenging those decisions, or I'm challenging the orders that were made by the court. If you are not satisfied with what that court had done, Federal High Court in Enugu, appeal against it to the Court of Appeal. If you are not happy regarding the decision that was taken at INEC, that you participated as a minority, and it was not as if you participated as a minority, because there was no minority dissent as far as that decision at INEC was concerned. You participated fully, you were happy, you left. Only for you later on, because of certain considerations, you feel that, oh, I disagree with it. And then you want to go to court and you think you can genuinely and sincerely and honestly challenge those decisions. I think it's not right, it's not fair. So if you look at the whole circumstances of the matter that was filed before Justice Omotosho, this was it. And that was why objections were raised. Preliminary objections were raised. For one, the people who went to court had no locus. Number two, that all in-house dispute resolution mechanisms had not been exhausted. So the action was premature, because where provisions have been stated that if you have disagreement, you follow proper channels to resolve those, and you've not followed those channels to resolve disagreement, and you are jumping to go to court, then the action becomes premature. Chairman, but I'm sure the Court of Appeal.
Absolutely, Chairman.
Yes.
The circumstances surrounding that convention extends to concerns around disenfranchisement. Can you categorically say that no delegate was disenfranchised? And also, could you outline states that did not participate in this convention and whether or not it has any impact on your emergence as chairman?
You see, when you talk of disenfranchisement, now you will talk of people who lawfully have a right to attend, and then they are deprived the opportunity of attending. Where there is a court injunction regarding whether or not congresses should be held in a particular state, and I told you there are about 2 of them, and then the Southeast Zonal ESCO. Now, can you, in all honesty, say that they were disenfranchised when the court said no? Now, when you look at all rules and laws that govern election, the fundamental rule is substantiality. If you have 36 states and then you have the FCT, let's assume for purposes of this discussion now, you have 37 units now. And then out of 37 units, the court has prevented 2 from participating. And then the others now have attended and participated. Can you say that non-attendance of 2 states will affect what has been done by 35 states? When you apply the rule of substantiality? So it doesn't. Assuming that they were even unjustifiably prevented. But I told you, as I'm talking to you now, that order by Federal High Court in Enugu is still subsisting. And for that order, we'll have since gone to conduct congresses in those states. So that is the fact, that is the reality. As far as I'm concerned, PDP as a party did not prevent any single delegate that has a legitimate right to attend the Ibadan Convention from attending the Ibadan Convention and voting. And you have seen it. You've seen the delegate there. You've seen them.
I know INEC was duly notified, and as it stands now, the Damagum-led executives still have their names on the INEC portal. What does that say? Where does INEC stand in this matter?
Well, I think it's a matter of process. Now, when Anyanwu, Ajibade, and Bature were suspended by the erstwhile National Working Committee, and then they now decided to also suspend the remaining 80 members of the NWC and said they were forming their own ESCO. Now, letters were written, correspondences were exchanged between INEC and these 2 groups. And what did INEC say at the end of the day? INEC said they do not recognize the Anyanwu group because 3 people cannot out of 21 go and say they are forming a faction. And of course we know what a faction is. So the correspondence that was written by then National Chairman, Ambassador Damagun, were honored by INEC. I can give you an example. Now, primaries were being organized then for the selection of a gubernatorial candidate for Ekiti State. And Damagun and the then acting secretary, Sechonji Koshewodo, wrote a letter to INEC to say, we are proceeding with the conduct of the primary election. And then Anyang, on the other hand, wrote a letter to say it was cancelled. So what did INEC do in furtherance of their recognition of the Damagun as the authentic leadership of the party? INEC did not only reply that letter, but indeed they went to Ado Ekiti and they monitored the Congress for the selection of the gubernatorial candidate that was held. And you may have noticed at about 2-3 days ago, now I, as the current chairman of the party, had issued a certificate of return to our gubernatorial candidate. And his particulars have been deployed on the INEC platform. So this is so rudimentary. If for whatever reason, probably INEC is yet to now change Damagun and his executives' name from the portal was mine and my own elected executives, I think it's a matter of process.
But have you been in contact with INEC for that purpose?
We've been in contact, but the procedure usually is the national chairman of the party, that was Ambassador Damagun, and the secretary, and the chairman of the convention organizing committee, who was governor of Oyo State, Right Honorable Fintiri, and the secretary of the convention, who was Chief Ben Obi Ojedebo. So they've written a letter. I have seen the letter that was written. They forwarded the whole comprehensive report of the convention to INEC, including the names of the newly elected ESCO and the votes that were scored. And I'm sure it's a matter of time they will do it.
How about the Osun primaries and the controversy surrounding it?
And there's no controversy surrounding our primary election in Osun. We had 2 candidates that had purchased forms and that were billed to participate in the primaries. One of them now suddenly came out to say he has left the party. But still, the Congress continued, and he scored votes even after he has declared that he left the party, and then an eventual winner emerged. And so that Congress also was duly monitored by INEC. INEC representatives, about 6 or 7 of them were there, and they were introduced at the event. So there's no controversy.
Let's talk about the procedures for suspension and expulsion. The back and forth of who is right in suspending or expelling who. Explain it to us why your actions are legal and that of the other faction, even though you insist there's no faction, are illegal.
Well, let me start by saying, at the time the suspension and the expulsion were done, I was not on the saddle. Now, I had said earlier on in this interview that in an NWC of 21 persons, that 3 people were found to be sabotaging the party in multidimensional ways. And they were cautioned, stop what you are doing. They persisted. And then they were now again warned in writing. And when they continued, so pending the time the matter will now be presented before the National Convention, they were suspended. And one thing that is even funny is that the person that these people are now saying is the acting national chairman, Abdurrahman, he also signed the letter of suspension. He signed the letter of the party suspending Ayahu, Ajibade, and Bature. The letter is there, his signature is there. So it's really surprising. You sat with the NWC, other members of the NWC, you agreed with them that these people had continued in their anti-party activities and they ought to be sanctioned. And so they were now suspended. You appended your signature in agreement with the decision that was taken by NWC, only for you to go back now and meet them to say, oh, you are now acting chairman, and you said, I have accepted. It doesn't make sense. That is number one. Number two, the convention of any political party is the highest organ of taking any decision at all. They can dissolve the party, they can dissolve the ESCO, they can pass a vote of confidence or vote of no confidence, and so on and so forth. They have the right to amend the constitution. They can do, there's nothing they cannot do. I think next to God in the management of political parties is the convention. Now, having been suspended and having continued to wallow in their acts of disservice to the party, anti-party activity, now a motion was moved at the convention, duly moved in accordance with the guidelines of the PDP. And then the convention now said, these people, having been cautioned, they have persisted, having been warned, they have continued, having been suspended, they are still wallowing in what they are doing. They are no longer persons that should be kept in our fold. And so the convention expelled them. Like I said, I was not on the saddle at that time, but I believe all the processes that needed to be taken have been taken by the party.
One of those processes, would it include a disciplinary committee submitting a report?
Now, it depends. It depends on the category of offenses that were done. You know, matters of discipline could begin even from the ward, going up to the local government, to the state, to the zone.
Could it be, or is that the normal progression?
No, it could be, depending on the status of a person. For instance, when you are dealing with a member of INEC, or in this case, people who are national officers of the party, the state cannot punish them.
Not their wards.
Not their ward again. They've gone beyond that.
Is that your constitution? Because Senator Mao had insisted that nobody is a member of a party from the national level. That the procedure for the party is that
what does Mao,
from ground
with a lot of respect to him, what does he know about the constitution? If Mao knew about the constitution, he will have known that how can he be chairman of BOT when he's never a member of BOT? He has never been a member of BOT. Suddenly, an acting chairman, he came to say, I'm making you chairman of BOT, and then he's parading himself as chairman of BOT. Let him go and read the constitution.
He said it was voted in by aggrieved BOT members.
Who are the BOT members? Who are the BOT members? If he has read the constitution of PDP, he will have known that PDP BOT stand on their own. They regulate their procedures, they regulate their proceedings, and they are not subject to appointment by the NWC. But let's even assume that what they did was right. At best, you can describe Abdurrahman as a chairman of the party, acting chairman of the party. Now, even where he is an elected chairman of the party, does he have the right to constitute a BOT? No. There are 4 ways where a person can be a member of BOT. And I tell you, as I'm telling Nigerians, that Mao has never qualified to be a member of BOT in any one of these. He was not a founding member. He was not a statutory member. He was not elected from his state. He was not elected from his zone. So how could he have been? How can Abdurrahman sit down in the comfort of the residence of official residence of FCC minister and say, I appoint you? And then you see him also purportedly as chairman of BOT, I dissolve structures here, I dissolve structures there. Does BOT has that power? No. So because they are working out of ignorance, they have even failed to as little as look at the provisions of the Constitution. They have not read the provisions of the Constitution. They don't know how things are done. They don't know how things should be done. And that is why they are doing this thing haphazardly. But if they know, they will have known that BOT does not have the power to dissolve any ESCO. At all, they don't have that power. And they will have also known that NWC does not have the power to constitute the Board of Trustees. So when you look at everything that they are doing, it's one false step over another. Why? Because they are working from lack of knowledge and lack of information. And it's deliberate because PDP constitution is there for them. If they had looked at it and have read it carefully, they will have known that everything they were doing is nothing but an exercise in futility.
Mr. Chairman,
yes,
you had talked about how long you've been in the PDP and the genesis of this problem. From where you stand, what do you understand to be the problem within the PDP? We've heard conversations or allegations and counter-allegations about people trying to destroy the People's Democratic. Do you think that this crisis within the party is internally generated or externally? And the reason I ask this is that the PDP had over time been accused of not following its internal processes and failing. You also had talked about impunity and the need to correct the concerns that have been raised by members and ensure that there will be no more impunity. So with that in mind, the genesis of the problem of the PDP that has lingered, do you think it's internally generated, or do you point fingers to people on the outside?
I think our problems have been multifaceted. And I've had cause to say on a few occasions when I spoke to members of the public that since we lost the election in 2015, now started having this kind of problems. Some were made by us, some were spawned on us. But whatever may have been the cause of those problems or crises, if I may put it that way, is that we in PDP have not been very good people in opposition. We're not good in opposition. Just like the APC people who have been on the saddle for the past 10 years are not also good in administration. They are good at criticizing. That is why even in government they keep on criticizing themselves. Now, whatever may be the reason at all, and I don't want to get into them, the truth of the matter is that we've had a fair share of problems as a political party. It's natural. Now, issues of impunity set in, issues of manipulation set in, issues of unfairness set in, issues of lack of inclusivity set in, issue of state managing of process at a certain level also came into it. And then the walls of PDP now were broken. And this time around, not even lizards. You now had crocodiles now crawling in between because the walls had broken. And so, by way of introspection, we felt that if we now need to bring PDP back to what it used to be, what do we need to do? The first fundamental thing is we need to take the party back to the people. What assisted us in winning election in those 16 glorious years of PDP governance is the fact that we had allowed the people to decide. Now, if you now allow the people to decide, you are now directly or indirectly now doing away with impunity, doing away with manipulations, doing away with injustice, and then you now make things to be done in a more transparent way and manner. And by ensuring inclusivity, you give the people that feeling of involvement. You give the people that feeling of being respected. You give them relevance. And once you do this thing, all you need to do is sit back and allow the people to own up the process, and then you proceed with it. So wherever I went, in the visitation that I have been doing since my election as national chairman of PDP, I had tried to inform the people that this time around, we're not going to allow all those things. We have identified those problems. We know them. You see? So we are going to confront them headlong. But the moment you take the party back to the people and you allow the people to decide who do they want, what do they want, how do they want it, when do they want it, you are solving 90% of their problems. The only thing that will be left is for you to ensure that the process is transparent, is fair, is just, and then you are home and dry. Because the membership is there. Today, there is no political party that you find in every unit, in every ward, in every local government and state moving forward to the national level than PDP. PDP is a household brand in Nigeria. People know us. People believe in us. But yes, we made mistakes. We've deflected at a point in time. We're now coming back on course. And when we do that, we're going to take over governance in this country in 2027.
How do you respond to the insistence of the FCT minister that he would not sit back and watch people who joined him in the party kick him out of the party? Because he's referring to those who have not been long in the People's Democratic Party and who have not, according to him, contributed as much as he has.
Well, I don't want to join issues with my friend, but the simple truth is he was one of the people that were responsible for the removal of Dr. Yosha Ayu, not only from the office of the national chairman of this party, but from being removed as a member of the party in his ward. When PDP was formed, Ayu was one of the foundation members, but he was responsible for removing him. So if you are in a house, and then you are saying that the architect who designed the house and the builder who built that house can be removed by you, who was one of the first occupants of that house, Are you now coming to say that the person who has come to renovate that house does not have the power to remove you also? The most important thing in this situation is that the house must survive. And anybody, whether you are Mr. P and D and P, that were brought together to have PDP, once you've decided to say, okay, I want to kill this party, then we will not allow you. We can't allow you. There is what is called an offense of suicide. If you succeed in killing yourself, then you are gone. But if you fail in an attempt to kill yourself, government will punish you. Why? Why should government punish you? Is it not your own life? Are you not the one taking your life? So it does not mean that if you are one of the founding fathers of PDP, that you will kill it. Or will you say now, okay, you've given birth to a son, because it's your son, that you have the right to kill that son, that neighbors cannot come and say they want to save that? And if they are trying to save the life of that child, the law can take that child away from you. There are enough safeguards. So the fact that he was there from the beginning, he wants to kill the party, does that mean that other members of the party who even joined yesterday will allow him to kill the party? I think it's an argument that is illogical, logically illogical. So it doesn't make sense. It doesn't.
Mr. Chairman, as we look into your tenure now, we see that you've already started holding meetings. I think last week you had a meeting with State Chairman.
Yes.
And you were with former President Olusegun Obasanjo.
Yes.
A few days ago. Could you explain, if you care to, what exactly the idea is, especially with meeting with former President Olusegun Obasanjo, who we now refer to as a statesman? He hung his boots in politics a long time ago. So what was the idea?
You see, if we want to take PDP back to its glorious days, then we must go back to the basics. If what we intend to do is to take the party back to the people, then we must also begin to consult with the representatives of the people. Yes, you are right. I had meeting, or our NWC had meeting with the state chairman. How many came? 30 state chairmen were there physically, and there were 2 apologies, which means that we had 32 in our fold. So whatever may be the reason why the remaining 4 were not there, at least you know we're in charge as far as having rapport with the state chairman are concerned. Now, it is our desire to also meet with all other stakeholders and other organs of the party. That same day we had a meeting with the state chairman, we met with the National Assembly caucus, and they were there. We met with ex-officio, and they were there. But for President Obasanjo, we had planned also that we'll be going on visitation. We had visited first General Ibrahim Babangida, who is still a member of our party. We then went and met General T.Y. Danjuma, who was a former Minister of Defense under Obasanjo's regime. And we had a fruitful discussion with them. So but we also went to meet General Obasanjo to say, look, you were there. You are the first president that was produced by PDP, and you did exemplary well. How did you manage to do ABC? Now, how did you confront, when problems like EFC came up, how did you confront them? Because any woman who will start cooking before the others, like I keep on saying, will have more broken pots. It's all about experience. And we had a frank discussion with him. And one of the things he was saying is that if you want to succeed in an organization, whether it's a political party or a town union, there must be discipline. Discipline must be enforced. In other words, he agreed with the decision that was taken by the convention regarding the punishment that was meted out to people who were trying to destroy the party. We will even have more visitations. We'll meet other former presidents, former vice presidents, former leaders of the party. We want to get advice from them. We want to take guidance from them. We want to take inspiration from them. So that at the end of the day, when we now put all these pieces of advice together, and then when we also now feel the pulse of Nigerian people, and then we marry them together. So we come out with a strategy that will ensure that PDP is now back to what it used to be. The party that you can truly say, this is the People's Party. And then we'll be set to take over Nigeria.
Is your party open, to, the party under your leadership, of course, open to reconciliation? Because I don't think we've heard you mention reconciliation. Or is the party moving ahead?
What I did say immediately after I was swearing in Ibadan was, we know that there are a lot of our members that were not happy with the existing state of affairs. Some of them were aggrieved genuinely. Some felt aggrieved without any justification. Some were engaged in say, don't look. Some had even traversed to go to other political parties. Others have decided to spread their legs. One leg in PDP and one in other political parties. So I said, irrespective of which class you belong to, we will come and meet you and play to you. Even if it means doing Dobale, I will do Dobale to you. And then as you come back home, this is an entirely new PDP at all. Now, therefore, issue of reconciliation is something that is at the forefront of what we intend to do. But what sort of reconciliation? You must reconcile with people who are willing to reconcile with you. Now, two people are fighting. And then you say, let's go and reconcile. As you're coming empty-handed, the other person is coming with a dagger, or is machete, or is coming with a very big club. Is he willing to reconcile? No. For those people, you need to also arm yourself. But where issues of reconciliation are stated, and then people genuinely are willing to come and sit down to reconcile in the overall interest of the party, then nothing is impossible. One thing I do know, as an arbitrator, as a mediator, is that yes, in doing these things, nobody will get what he wants. Let's leave where you are standing, come to the center. We leave where we're standing and come to the center and see what is possible. And I tell you, when you do that, nothing is impossible. But when you sit down in the comfort of your bedroom and then you begin to say that the only reason for reconciliation is that PDP should not fill a presidential candidate for 2027 election, then we know that you are a kamikaze person. You want to kill yourself and kill us, and we're not going to sit with you.
You know, on that, Senator Ohabu has said the realistic thing for the PDP is to admit that it doesn't have the structure to win a presidential election. Instead, it should focus on winning other elections that it would field candidates. Does that sort of answer any question considering the state of the PDP at this moment? Or are you optimistic that the PDP, regardless of the structural concerns now, can still field a candidate in 2027 and win?
Now it's like a coach now who is going into a competition and is telling his team, gentlemen, I know you'll try your best, but you can only win bronze. You can't win silver. You can't win the trophy. You can't win. I mean, does he want them to win? No. In a situation where you claim to be a leader of a party, regardless again, and then you are saying that your party does not have what it takes to win an election, then you're not serious. Look at the results of the last presidential election. Who came second? It was PDP. So are you now saying that all those people who came out to vote for PDP are dead?
Well, you've lost members. You've lost the presidential candidate, and that in that election is now in the ADC.
That is the mistake, Terry, a lot of people are making, because they mistake party, the strength of the party, with positions that are being held. I've said this, and I will say it for the umpteenth time. Governors do not constitute the party, even in their respective states. Most of these people that are governors, they were governors not because they stood on their own right to become governors, but they became governors because party leaders had put them forward, and then party members had voted for them. So those leaders are still there, those members are still there, and this is our strength. And by the time we begin to deploy our strategies, when we now take the party back to the people, you will see what is going to happen in Nigeria.
Mr. Chairman, what's your assurance to members of your party who are at this point considering joining other members who have left the party? I'm sure you followed conversations where members of your party have said, we're worried about who will sign our forms and if INEC will accept it or not. What's your assurance to them as you sit here?
I think by now, nobody should be in doubt as to whether INEC will recognize and then accept for elections PDP candidates. 3 days ago, we held an elaborate ceremony where we gave certificate of return to our Ekiti State governorship candidate, Dr. Oluwole Oluyede. And in broad daylight, I brought out an INEC form and gave him and asked him to go and fill it quickly and bring it back so that we'll deploy his data on the INEC platform. Now, INEC had recognized us. Nigerians are also aware that last week, or recently rather, on the 2nd of this month, we conducted the Oyo State primaries, and INEC were there live to trace it, and is there in the media. So I cannot imagine how anybody honestly will now get into an argument to say that INEC will now correspond with us, honor our invitation, attend our congresses where our candidates are elected in their presence, and they file return of those congresses to their office, on the basis of which they are now giving us the code to deploy the data of our candidates on their platform, only for them tomorrow to come and say, oh no, we're not going to recognize you. Is it even possible? Does it even make sense? Is it even within the contemplation of a reasonable person to make? No. There are fears. Some of them are coming out of propaganda. And I tell you, the APC people are good at propaganda. They will go out there in the public space and begin to say, oh, don't stay in PDP, because PDP will not be a veritable platform for standing for election. But all that is false. We have displayed in quite unmistakable terms, and we will continue to do that till the date of the election. But I want to tell Nigerians out there that PDP is still a veritable platform. We will field candidates. Those candidates will contest in all elections, and then those candidates will, by the special grace of God, win election for us. We will take over because we are poised to take over leadership in Nigeria.
Chairman, just about a month into your election, you've lost 2 governors, the Oyo State governor and the Rivers State governor. How does that make you feel?
Well, for Rivers State, honestly, I even want to sympathize with him, because he's a person that was being hounded, he was being intimidated, he was being harassed. And if, for whatever reason, now moving over will give him that protection, I think the better for him. But for quite some time, he had been harassed by the powers. Let me use that word, by the powers. And so you could see, even after he came back from the illegally imposed state of emergency in Rivers State, that he was still cowed. He couldn't talk, he couldn't do anything. I'm happy for him that he now found his voice, that he has moved over. But PDP is still intact in Rivers State. PDP is still intact in Rivers State, and it's the election that will prove that.
Do you think that the People's Democratic Party gave Governor Fubara the much-needed support during his time of struggle?
I think to a large extent the party did. But there was a lot of confusion then, because the practice, I wouldn't want to say the custom, the practice was you now give a lot of respect to serving governors as far as matters that concern their states were concerned. And I think at a point in time, or up to a point in time, I think he was enjoying that respect. And that was one of the main reasons that brought about the conflict between my friend Wiki, the FCT minister, and the then members of NWC, because he felt that he was supposed to be the leader of the party. But of course, the PDP leadership then said, no, yes, you are an elder, a well-respected elder. While you are a governor, you are the leader of the party. Now that you are not the governor, even if you are the godfather of the governor, then you must still succumb to accepting the reality that the governor is the leader of the party. But that is history anyway. That is history. As far as I'm concerned, PDP, I may not be privy to all the events that had unfolded at that time, but from looking from close by, I think PDP had done everything they could to give him a lot of comfort. You can also recall, and Nigerians can remember, that when the state of emergency was unlawfully and unconstitutionally declared in Rivers State, the PDP governors came together and assembled a legal team to go to challenge it, because it was a matter that related to states and the relationship between state and federal government. The matter was filed in the Supreme Court. Now, was the matter heard? The matter was not heard by the court. Now, part of the reasons that my friend, the FCT minister, was having issues with PDP and the PDP leadership was that matter should be withdrawn in court, which was not withdrawn. At the end of the day, now, we, as PDP, were able to do what was within our control. But giving date to hear the matter was clearly outside the control of PDP governors. And we had written letters severally to remind the CJN to now give dates for that matter, and it was not given. So it will not be it will be incorrect for anybody to say that Governor Fubara had been abandoned by PDP or by his colleagues in PDP. We've done the best we could to give him comfort as a member of the party.
Chairman, Governor Adeleke's situation is quite peculiar. I say that because the governors who have left the PDP have gone to the APC. He did not go to the APC. He went to a court party. So now the question on the minds of many Nigerians is, how did he leave a party that is supposed to be a much bigger party to a party like the Accord Party? What do you think went wrong?
Well, I wouldn't say something went wrong, because I will look at it from the perspective of the choices that the Nigerian Constitution has given every citizen. You have the freedom to associate freely and to dissociate. And so where anybody, including Governor Adeleke, felt that he would want to leave PDP, then that is an inalienable right, regardless of what the reasons may be. For a sitting governor to say he wants to leave, fine, he has the right to leave. But that will not prevent PDP, as the leading opposition party in Nigeria, from fielding a candidate, and we have fielded one now. We've done our primaries without him. Of course, he was on the ballot. He was on our ballot. Like I said, he scored some votes. He started about, I can't remember, about 214 or so. He scored votes. But he left, and we have our own candidate. And so we wish him well.
Well, you're not worried that he would move with a structure?
I'm not worried.
In his structure with which he won the election.
I'm not worried because, number one, all the members of National Assembly from Oyo State of PDP extraction are still there. Nobody has moved. Nobody is moving.
Honorable Oluwole Oke has left.
Well, I'm not aware. That has not been brought to my attention.
Governor Adeleke.
Okay, that has not been brought to my attention because there is a lot of confusion here. I can tell you that nobody of the 21 members of the State Working Committee of the party have left. They are there. They've not gone. Members of the House of they are there. Other party leaders are there. And we've been speaking with them. And tomorrow night, I'm going to have a meeting with some of them here to discuss moving forward how we are going, the strategies for winning election in Oyo State. So PDP, I keep on saying, and I'll continue to say it, the strength of PDP lies in the membership, the people. And any person can move. We've had situations where vice presidents have left and they came back. They left and came back. We've had situations where presidents of the Senate have left and they came back. We have situations where former governors, former ministers have left and have come back. We've had situations where serving governors have left and have come back. That is PDP for you. PDP is it. That is the party.
Well, the conversation extended beyond politics, and we looked at the state of the nation with regard to security, especially amid reactions from the public that the PDP isn't reacting as tough as the APC did in 2014, just ahead of the 2015 general elections.
Our view in the PDP family is that issue of security is very, very fundamental, and it's not something that should be politicized. Yes, in 2014, other political parties in opposition politicized the issue of security. And what has happened is now history. Now, the inalienable right of every citizen and expectation from his government is that his property should be secured, his life should be secured, and then his environment should be secured. We are now in a situation where Nigerians are not as safe at home. They are not as safe on the streets. Neither are they safe in their places of work. Whether you go to a factory or you go to the farm, incidences are there, so many. I don't need even to begin to make reference to them. But we believe that in spite of the deplorable situation of the security in this country, We're not playing politics with it. Recently, I led members of the NWC to go to Niger State. Niger State is an APC-controlled state. We went to empathize and sympathize with them over the kidnapping of some school children in Agwara local government area. Did we play politics out of it? No. We went to Kebbi State also. Kebbi State, again, apart from the father is my own state, that is an APC-controlled state. We went again to empathize and sympathize with the people and government of Kebbi State over the girls that were kidnapped from Mahuta. But did we also play politics? Did we begin to say, bring back our Mahuta girls? Did we begin to say, bring back our Abwara girls? We didn't do that because we are engaged in responsible opposition. So, security matters, for me, are something that are areas that we need to bridge gap. No politics inside, because kidnappers, when they come, they're not going to ask you, come, are you a PDP member? Oh no, I'm APC. Okay, it's ADC people I want to kidnap. No. Will they ask you, are you a Muslim or are you a Christian? Oh, I'm a Muslim. Oh, it's a Christian that I want to kidnap. Will they come and ask you, are you Hausa or are you Yoruba or are you Ijo or it's a Fulani man that I want to kidnap? All these things don't happen. So if kidnappers do not ask these questions, then that is the more reason for us now as leaders, political leaders in this country, when matters of security are an issue, forget about all differences. Let us come together and even assist the people in government, because they have clearly shown that they do not have the capacity to manage the security issues in Nigeria. They don't have the capacity. So if we believe that we have capacity, then there's no reason why we will refuse to assist them. Let them take the credit. We will assist them, let them take the credit. But we want a Nigeria to be safe and secure, because we do not want to take over a Nigeria that will continue wallowing in insecurity as it is today.
You know, I think it's good that you emphasize on the need not to politicize the issue of security, because of seeing people insisting that the same position that was taken by President Bola Tinubu when this insecurity thing was heightened.
Yes.
With Jonathan, that he should resign.
Yes.
It applied to him.
Yes.
You think it should?
Well, I don't think so. We leave APC members with their conscience. If you come out and look at me and say my mouth is smelling, okay, you are helping me. I will go and get toothpaste and then try to brush my mouth as many times as I could to do it with the auto. But if your own mouth is smelling and you pretend that your mouth is not smelling, then you are not helping yourself. You may have helped us when we were there. You are not helping yourself. And this brings me back to what I said again. As far as we're concerned, what has happened between 2015 to date had clearly shown that APC-led federal government has no capacity to tackle the security problems that we have been facing. When we were in government, back in 2015, was there an issue of banditry? No. Beyond the issue of Boko Haram. Even then, because I am in a position to know, because I was the chairman of the Presidential Committee on Dialogue, election was postponed for about 4 weeks to enable some urgent steps to be taken. And the consequence of those is that there was no place in the 774 local governments in Nigeria that a 2015 election did not hold. How did we do it? Have they come to ask us to assist them? Do they think that when they come, we refuse to give them the information, the wherewithal to do that? Nigeria is our country. If you want to govern, whether as a governor or as a president or as a chairman of local government, more than any other person, you want that area to be peaceful because you want to govern in peace. So have they approached us? They have never approached us. We have the data, we have the information, we have the wherewithal, we have the skills. And if they don't want us to assist them, we'll keep our information, we'll keep our skills until when we take over May 2027 by the special grace of God. And then they will see how we are going to revolutionize the issue of security in this country. But I mean, Nigerians, when you ask Nigerians, they will tell you that the current APC-led federal government is making a clumsy work out of the whole security issue, because there is no day that passes today without one incident or another of insecurity.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to thank you very much for finding time to speak with us on our political paradigm.
Thank you very much, my brother Terry. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I look forward to our having this discussion again.
Well, that was the national chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Dr. Turaki. If you'd like to catch that interview fresh, please go to YouTube and search Political Paradigm, or simply go to channelstv.com. Thank you for your time. I'm Terry.